No
trips that are truly out of this world being available within 3 years.
The Earth from space is a beautiful sight, and many believe the experience shouldn't be restricted to astronauts. The German company Space Tours, which organised the Space Tourism Conference, also arranges for adults to sample astronaut training at the Euro Space Centre in Belgium. This includes concentrating on written tasks, testing balance recovery after a spin, and performing a mission on board a space shuttle simulator. Surely real astronauts don't have this much trouble. It's definitely fun, but the practicalities of space tourism remain.
The transport of the space shuttle we have now is too expensive, and it's not designed to bring people in space. And the industry is at the moment very active in designing new space vehicles.
Then there's accommodation, although one company believes discarded shuttle fuel tanks could form a spinning space hotel.
I can see a time when there will be a Disney World complex around the launch site, and the money from that, the money generated from that, will help to fund the actual flights to help lower the cost. You know, if we can offer a space flight at, say, $60,000, let's generate millions of dollars from a tourism industry built up around that and help lower that cost to open it up for everybody.
This is an exact replica of Columbus, the European Space Laboratory, which will be added to the International Space Station in 2003. It's still not known whether a British astronaut would ever work here, but who knows, perhaps in the future it may form part of a space hotel. Sue Nelson, BBC News at the Euro Space Centre in Belgium.
Unemployment has risen again. The number of people looking for work rose to more than 1,830,000 between December and February. That's an increase of 32,000. But the number of people actually in work has gone up as well, and those figures contain hope for older people. Our economics correspondent Ed Crooks is here. Ed, tell us more.
Well, there does seem to be a big change currently going on in the labour market. For about the past 2 decades or so, if you were over 50 and lost your job, you could pretty well think that your working life was over. But apparently not anymore. Now, a large number of over 50s are going into jobs. And yesterday I went and spoke to someone who's done just that.
Coffee's ready.
I haven't got time for this. What time are you going to go?
At the age of 56, Greta Lidster is setting out on a new career.
Specs, mobile, pen. Right, I'm off. I'll see you later.
She gave up her job in sales when her daughter was born 16 years ago, but now she's working full-time as a market researcher.
People of my age group have now got families grown up and off to university, and they're really feeling they need something to do during the daytime, and they can now go back to work
good morning.
without any home commitments and really get into the job. Now, did you make any trips in January where you stayed overnight?
No.
Not at all.
For Greta, her age presented no difficulty in finding work. Her employers are keen to hire people over 50. Often the customers they're dealing with are the same age. And when I went to see her, she told me she thought she had every bit as much to offer as someone much younger.
I suppose, yeah, we all wish we were 20 years younger. That would be absolutely wonderful. But as far as stamina and everything else, I'm sure I've got just as much as a younger person. No, that isn't a problem at all.
And Mrs. Lidster's advantages are widely reflected, are they? I mean, it's not an isolated case.
Yeah, apparently so. The figures are actually very impressive. If you look at what's happened over the past 2 years, for every 4 new jobs that have been created, 3 have gone to people aged 50 or over, which I think you've got to say is good news all round. If older people are being unfairly discriminated against by employers, then their talents and experience are just being wasted, and that's a loss to the country as a whole. If now, as is apparently happening, they are able to get jobs, then that's obviously good news for them and good news for everyone else as well.
Thanks very much. Wales will soon have its own assembly. The elections are in a fortnight, but there's still a dispute about what language should be used in its debates. Language campaigners who say that Wales is a truly bilingual nation want equal status for Welsh and English in the assembly.
Os ydych chi'n rhoi grym rhwng y gwefrau, mae'n trio symud, ond mae grymoedd o'r llinyn yna yn trio cadw fer yn ei le, ynddi?
Children in Llandudno taking science lessons in Welsh.
A clear example, say language campaigners, that Welsh is a vibrant and living language. But these children are part of a minority. Less than 20% of the population speaks Welsh, so should it be given the same status as English in the Assembly? Some people clearly think not.
The Welsh language is no longer the language of Wales. English is the language of the overwhelming majority, and all Welsh speakers speak and understand English. English should be the working language of the Assembly. Bilingualism is a dead end as far as most Welsh people are concerned.
Tynol tywyll yn canu am Sir Gaernarfon am 5 munud wedi 3 ar BBC Radio Cymru. Croeso I...
Wales is already served by Welsh language radio and television channels, and although there is a commitment for Assembly proceedings to be carried out in both languages, members of the powerful Welsh language lobby say further guarantees must be made.
We would like to see Assembly members speaking Welsh on the floor of the Assembly. That would have a great impact, I believe, on people in Wales to see Welsh being spoken as a vibrant language in a modern and inclusive society.
Some language campaigners say that when the Assembly first meets here, it won't be paying enough attention to Welsh. Others argue that the opposite is true, and that too much status is being afforded to what, after all, is a minority language. Whether or not there will be full bilingualism from the outset, the Welsh language is sure to play a huge role in the day-to-day running of the Assembly. Wera Davies, BBC News, Cardiff.
And Arthur Scargill's Socialist Labour Party has kicked off its campaign for the Welsh Assembly with a promise of full employment, the opening of 30 deep coal mines and the abolition of private health care. They also want to raise the minimum wage to £6 an hour. Their spokesman Darren Hickory said their policies could be paid for by the UK's withdrawal from the European Union. The AA is getting a huge number of inquiries from its members following newspaper reports that it may be sold off. It's Britain's biggest car breakdown service, and a sell-off could lead to a £200 windfall. Our business correspondent Greg Wood is at the AA offices at Stanmore in Middlesex. Greg, is this going to happen?
Well, the AA has issued a statement saying it's keeping an open mind about its structure, which indicates to me that these reports probably are accurate. It's also already decided what the voting arrangements will be in the event of a sale or a stock market flotation. So I think we can expect some sort of statement over the coming months.
And members would get what, £200, and who would benefit?
Well, the AA has 9.5 million members, but only so-called personal members, of which are about 4.3 million, would actually qualify for a windfall payment. You're a personal member if you pay money directly to the AA. So if you're a member because your partner is, or as part of a deal when you bought a new car, you wouldn't qualify. As to the amount, that all depends upon what the AA is worth. The current estimate is it could be as much as £1.5 billion, and that would mean individual windfalls of probably up to £200.
And if you go along this afternoon and join up, are you likely to benefit from that?
Well, that's a bit of a gamble, really. It's up to the AA, if and when it decides on a sale or stock market flotation, to decide precisely what the qualifying period is. So you could win, on the other hand, you might lose out.
Craig, thanks very much indeed. If you're one of millions fed up with sleepless nights caused by snoring, you'll be pleased to know that help is at hand. Doctors in Birmingham think they found a cure. All it takes is a 30-minute operation.
See you in the morning. Sleep well. Good night. Good night.
Snoring can ruin a night's sleep. Doctors use this special sleep room to measure how loud a patient snores. Noisy snoring like this is no joke for 1 in 10 adults, and until now has been extremely hard to cure. The new treatment offers a simple, permanent solution. Glenn Williams is the first person in Britain to have the operation, which he hopes will stop the snoring that's made life a misery for both him and his wife.
Fall asleep, and then within hours, the noise starts. I call him the noise monster.
It's not so bad for the people who snore, it's the partners. Because you turn over and you, oh yeah, I've snored on. But it's the partners who suffer.
Let's get the endoscope connected onto the camera.
Until now, treatment has been long and painful, removing loose tissue from inside the mouth that vibrates, causing snoring. The new procedure takes only 10 minutes. Doctors use a special needle to fire radio waves into the mouth. They break down cells and tighten flabby tissue without needing conventional surgery.
Surgery for snoring is indeed the last resort. There are several things you can do before that, the most important being losing weight. The other factors that are important are stopping smoking and also stopping drinking alcohol prior to going to bed at night.
The operation isn't yet available on the NHS, although studies in America suggest it's effective in 80% of cases. It'll be 6 weeks before Glenn Williams knows if it's worked for him, but hopes it could soon help snorers everywhere. James Westhead, BBC News.
And you can see more on that on